Hello, everyone. Welcome to Christopher's Entertainment Blog. I'm your host, Chris. Welcome to my video for The Hobbit Battle of Five Armies review. I have to say, guys, I enjoyed this film immensely. I personally, I did. I loved it. I had a lot of fun with it. I know there's a lot of weird reviews going on out there that I can certainly kind of understand what they're saying. But that being said, I still thought it was great. I really did. I thought it was a great companion to, to the Lord of the Rings. And this is coming from me, personally. If you don't know, I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And especially, I love Tolkien. Tolkien is like just everything, to me. I know everybody has like Star Wars, or and they love Star Wars, which I like Star Wars a lot, but for me personally, Lord of the Rings is the pinnacle for me personally. So now there's a lot of other fans out there that know Tolkien's writing a lot more than me, because there's so much. But there's a lot of people that may not like the adaptations that Peter Jackson has done. But for me personally, I love what he has done. And not only am I a Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit fan, but I am a Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings, and Hobbit fan. I have no problem what he has done adapting and basing these writings and stories from Tolkien, from Lord of the Rings, from Hobbit into film. I have no problem what he has done. I mean, there's a few minor things here and there, but it doesn't bother me like some people. But for this installment of the Battle of Five Armies, I loved it. I thought it was great. And the reviews, like on Rotten Tomatoes right now, I mean, I'm not sure what it's holding right now. I think the last I looked, it was like 61%, which just seems criminal. It seems almost criminal to me that this movie is lower, actually, than the first installment of The Unexpected Journey. And I actually really loved The Unexpected Journey. So, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I know the critics, one things are saying, too much CGI, too much, it was fan service, but come on. I mean, these movies have always been for the fans, for the people that know the writings, know the books. So that's what it really is. It's always been. And I thought he did a very great job in the Battle of Five Armies, adapting from from the book and putting a lot of stuff in there from the book. So, yeah, I have no idea why it's so low. The CGI, I agree that the CGI, some things could have been done practical. I do agree with that, but for whatever reason, well, I think I know the reason, and I'll hit on that in a minute. But the CGI with Bolg and with Azog, I think could have been done practically, and I think that would have been better. Kind of like with Lurtz in Lord of the Rings, how they did that, and all the Uruk-hai and all the orcs. A lot of them were, guys in the suits, and they looked terrifying, and they looked great. I've actually been going back through the HD versions of Lord of the Rings, and they look great. It still holds up. It still looks great. And I think it would have been nice to see Bolg and Azog practically suited. I think that would have been better. But the reason I think what killed it was this 48 frames per second business, the 3D, and doing all that. It took away from a lot of that stuff that was in Lord of the Rings. They had the bigatures and the miniatures and all this stuff. They couldn't really do that in The Hobbit because of the 48 frames per second 3D stuff. And I think that killed it. I think that was a mistake. I think it's very innovative. I really do. I think the 48 frames per second is an innovative technology. Maybe it can be adapted. It's some type of project, but I think it was wrong to adapt it into The Hobbit. because I think it really killed a lot of what could have made it great, and it took away. It took away from it because Balg and Azog and some of the other CGI stuff just doesn't look right. It just, to me, it doesn't look quite right. Even though I love the films, I love them, but it still takes away. And I think it could have been to the Lord of the Rings standard if they could have done that in the traditional 24 frames instead of the 48, which I think ruined it. I really did. But I think that technology is great for something else, but I don't think it was right for The Hobbit. And I wish they wouldn't have done that. I don't know whose ultimate decision that was, but I'm not sure if it was all Peter Jackson or not, but I think it was kind of a mistake, but there it is. That being said, I mean, like I said, I love the film. I really did. And I cried a few times. I will say I cried a few times, and it was sad to this is it. This is the end, possibly, pretty much for Peter Jackson. I mean, I know he's come out and said that maybe in another few years or something. I don't know. There's no guarantee for that. And I actually think it's it. That's it. I wouldn't doubt that. It might be somebody else might pick it up or do something at a later time, but I think that's it. I really do. And it's sad. It really is sad. It's the end of an era, really. And I love what he's done. I love, like I said, I love what he has done with the films. The beginning with Smaug. I know Smaug wasn't going to be in it very long. I knew that. I was thinking maybe 25 minutes. I think it was a little shorter than that. It was like 15 or something. But fairly quickly, they dealt with Smaug. I thought that scenes were great, though. That's another thing I wish they would have done, is that I wish they would have found some way. I know they said it was necessary to cut it the way they did, but I would have liked to have seen them dealt with the dragon in the Desolation of Smaug. I wish they would have dealt with Smaug in that film and somehow cut it to, be the Battle of the Five Armies, but yet it's cut up in a way that it just doesn't make much sense to me, even though when you watch them all continuously, it makes more sense now, but, it's not that big a deal, but I think they could have dealt with the dragon in Desolation of Smaug and then cut it to a certain way to where you pick up, right where they've dealt with the dragon and ready for the battle, They could have done it that way. I mean, I know there's probably some way they could have dealt with that, but I'm sure that was a tactic maybe to get casual fans or fans that don't know too much about the story to actually come back to the theater this year, now. So they went last year on a cliffhanger and have them come back. So that's probably what it was all about. But that being said, the scenes were great with Smaug. I love that. The burning of Lake Town was awesome. And then going right into Thorin and dealing with the dragon sickness and that trying to basically, corrupt him, the gold, and Bilbo hiding the Arkenstone, and it was great. And then seeing my favorite scene throughout the whole battle, the whole movie, was the scene with Elrond, Galadriel, Radagast coming in there, Elrond, who else? Saruman was there, and they fought the Nine, the ring wraiths. They fought them. That was great. I love that scene. And then we see Sauron, the rubble crumble, and then the eye of Sauron, and it was great. I loved that scene. And then Galadriel, I mean, there was some stuff that I was trying to remember, like what was going on, because I actually haven't read the books in a while, even though I'm a huge fan. But it was just great seeing that, and seeing that strength that Galadriel had to basically banish, push out Sauron to Mordor. It was where he went, and now you get that connection with Lord of the Rings there, that now he's went to Mordor. And then you see Saruman saying, leave Sauron to me, which they kind of left that open. It was just like, oh man, I wish they would have showed him finding like one of the Palantir, the Palantir or whatever, the Seeing Stone. I wish they would have showed that, like how he got that, and finding that and maybe getting influence from Sauron. That would have been neat. But hey, there's always the extended edition, so I don't know, maybe they'll put that in there. But that was a great scene. I loved it. And the whole battle was, that was exhausting. That whole battle, Billy Connolly as Dane was great. I thought he looked awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. I loved it. Yeah. I mean, there's so much to really talk about. It was just, I enjoyed it immensely. And, seeing that the whole scene where Fili, Kili, and Thorin were all killed, I mean, it was just, I knew that was coming. And I was just like, man, it's sad, and to see it that way. I loved how they got the sword, the Goblin Cleaver, I forget the name now. The sword back into the hand of Thorin. Legolas had it, and I like how they, he threw it as a spear into one of the orcs, and Thorin was able to get it back and then use that. That was great. And him dealing with Azog, and Legolas dealing with Bolg, and the whole Legolas, using the rubble's crumbling away, and he's using the steps, using as the rubble as steps to climb back up. That was awesome. I mean, so much stuff going on in this film, and you can really the whole film wasn't quite on the scale of Lord of the Rings, but I felt like it was kind of like on a scale with like a Two Towers, not Return of the King, because Return of the King is just just head over heels better, but or on a more epic scale. But I really felt like this skirmish for the mountain, for the gold, was on the scale of a Two Towers, when they're trying to break down, into, I can't remember the stronghold now for Rohan that they were at, but in Two Towers, that whole battle that was going on, that's what it felt like to me. And Helm's Deep, that's what it was. I was blanking on that. Helm's Deep, the battle for Helm's Deep, this is what it felt like to me. The Battle of the Five Armies felt kind of like a little bit of a mixture of the Battle for Helm's Deep and a little bit of the battle at Pelennor Fields in Return of the King from Minas Tirith. It kind of combined that, because you're having 5 giant armies fighting over the mountain, and that's for it just felt like that to me. It felt kind of like a combination, and it felt like on the scale of a Lord of the Rings, this film did more than maybe the other two did, and the whole scale was a little bit more raised, and it felt like a hybrid of Two Towers and Return of the King. So that was a good thing. I was glad that they went out with a bang, and could have, they done things differently, sure. I mean, but they've put a lot of effort into these films. I mean, no small effort whatsoever. And I think some of the things killed it was the 48 frames. Like I said, the 48 frames, the 3D, I think that downscaled it. I don't know how much influence Guillermo del Toro had with these films. I know he was attached to it for a long time and then backed out. I don't know how much influence or ideas they took from him or what was what. But, they are for what they are, and I think it's brilliant. I really do, because The Hobbit is not as good as Lord of the Rings. The books, it's not. The Hobbit is a children's book, and they're not as good as Lord of the Rings. It's not. And now the movies aren't quite as good as Lord of the Rings. And I think that's brilliant that that's the way it should be. They shouldn't be as epic as Lord of the Rings anyway. So I really enjoyed what they did. And I think adapting one book, one children's book, into three gigantic 3 hour long films and taking stuff from The Hobbit and the appendices and whatever, I think that they've done a great job adapting that into the best film possible. And yeah, I loved it. I loved it. I really did. Another thing is, a lot of the hardcore Tolkien fans don't like Tauriel. I liked her. I did. I didn't have a problem with her. I understood why Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh, Philippa Bowens, why they put her in there. She's a strong female character. There's no other strong female characters in The Hobbit. None. There's none. Except for maybe Bard's children. That's it. The two girls. They're the only other women. There's no other women. So it was great that they put a strong woman character in the films. And I think it worked out. I really did. I think it worked out. Evangeline Lilly is great. I had no problem with her being there. I didn't. And, it was the device, that they put in there, the love triangle thing, it doesn't really bother me either. It doesn't really bother me. I know some people have a problem with it, but in the end, it was just more of a thing to make you feel more attached to the characters and feel that be like a tearjerker type thing in there for when Keeley died. And so, there's that. But I think she was a great character. I really do. I think she was a strong character, and I liked the character a lot. But yeah, guys, wild ride. Billy Boyd at the end was great. The song, The Last Goodbye. Yeah, it's very good. I never would have thought Billy Boyd would be singing the final song, but alas, he is. And I thought he did an excellent job. And the drawings at the end, just like in Return of the King, I think is fitting. I really do. The final scenes also in The Hobbit where you finally go back to an older Bilbo sitting at Bag End, and then he hears the knock on the door, and then he says, "We don't want any more visitors, well-wishers, or distant relations." Exactly what was in the Fellowship of the Ring at the beginning, and then you hear Gandalf says, "Well, what about very old friends?" And it pans down while Bilbo goes to the door, opens it up, and you hear that scene from Fellowship of the Ring, and it pans down to the map, and the map is in Fellowship of the Ring, so I love that connection where they got to Fellowship of the Ring. And if you watch Fellowship of the Ring, the map is there. Gandalf picks it up, and it says on the map, the desolation of Smaug. And there's also other references to the Hobbit in there. So, with the shirt, the Mithril shirt Thorin gives in the Hobbit, you see that in Fellowship where Bilbo talks about it and gives it to Frodo. And then Gandalf then in the Mines of Moria talks about Thorin had a shirt made of Bilbo had a shirt made of mithril rings that Thorin gave him, and you see that in the Battle of Five Armies. So all these little connections was great, and Thranduil telling Legolas also to go find out Strider or Aragorn, so we see a little bit more of the connection there to Lord of the Rings, and I can't wait to see the extended edition and what 25 minutes they put back in it. There's a few things that I'd like to have solved, which I don't know if they will be, but I'd like to see more Bjorn. That's one negative. I wish they would have had more Bjorn. We see him falling from the eagles and turning into the bear, and then that's it. I wish they would show more Bjorn. I wish they would have showed more about Radagast, where he went to. We don't know. Gandalf has a staff. I think he has Radagast's staff. If I'm wrong, correct me. But I'd like to find out where he got that from. I guess Radagast gave it to him, but they didn't really show that. And also Tauriel. They never showed what happened to Tauriel. I thought she was going to die, and now it's just like, well, where's Tauriel at in Lord of the Rings? I wish they would have explained like where she went. Maybe she, I mean, they said that she was banished, so I guess she's still banished. Maybe, I don't know. But I would hope that they would show more of this stuff in the extended editions at some point, explaining some more of this stuff. And but yeah, guys, I really enjoyed it. I know some people out there saying that they were disappointed, but I was not one of them. I think it's a great companion to the Lord of the Rings, and I enjoyed these films. I really did. All three. I thought they were great. They were fun. And I thought they were just great companions to, like I said, the Lord of the Rings. And man, oh man, already done. I can't believe it. But yeah, guys, I went way over time, 20 minutes talking. But yeah, a lot to talk about. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me, guys. Like I said, if you haven't checked it out, and you should, so tell people to go check it out. But if you're watching this, I mean, I've already spoiled it because I've talked a good bit about it. But that's going to be it for me, guys. Also, like and subscribe. Appreciate the support. Also, write in the comments below, guys, what you thought of the film. I mean, let me know. Interested to hear that. Or anything I may have missed that you want to touch on, please let me know. But that's going to be it for me, guys. I'm Chris for Christopher's Entertainment Blog. Thanks a lot, guys. Take it easy.